about your fears? Do you think of them as fears you've had your whole life, fears that you have kind of added on as time went by, or fears that you have about the future, like that you don't even know why you have them yet, but they're still there, right? Well, here's the thing. You may very likely have outgrown your fears, and yet you're still hanging on to them. Fears about the future, fears about the past repeating itself, any kind of fears. You actually may have outgrown them. And so this came up during a session in the Inspired Creator community where you were talking about fears. And I asked the question to someone, is that a fear that still serves you? Have you outgrown it? Are you a different person? Is it still aligned with who you are? And their answer was no, it's not. I know better. Like, I'm not that person who was afraid of that before. I have done things that prove to me that that fear is irrelevant to me now. And yet we hang on to these fears. Like we actually are still afraid of things that we were afraid of as a child. And for me, I remember, well, let me just say, so our fears change over time. As you grow and you have new experiences, your fears change. And some of them may no longer serve you. And so, I remember going out coming out here to New Mexico for a like 5-day event with Stuart Wilde called The Warrior's Wisdom. And we had to do this ropes course. And we would get up high and do all these things. And I thought I had a fear of heights because my mother had a fear of heights and she instilled it in me. She would always hang on to like my belt. And when we were up somewhere high. And I realized that was not a fear that was mine even. It was her fear. And I let it go, right? So that experience changed me, and that fear was no longer in alignment with who I was. And so I no longer think about being afraid of heights. So as you grow, your fears change. You may get new ones, you may drop the old ones, and or you may hang on to the ones that no longer serve you, even though you don't know that they don't serve you. And the thing is, the fears are habitual. And so if so my father died when I was 7, and right before that he got angry at me. And so in my head I had men being angry and leaving hooked up, right? And so I always thought that if a man got angry at me, he would leave. And so even today, even though I know better, it's a habitual reaction for me to, like, if my husband gets angry, to think he's going to leave. Now, we've been together 35 years. He's not going to leave just because he got angry. But that's what comes up for me because fears are habitual. They're habits. And so if you have a fear of, I don't know, hi, Elu. Yes, hi. It's just me out here. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, go away. If you have a fear of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of, eating something. Okay, so like I have a shellfish allergy. So I'm very afraid of eating something that I don't know has shellfish in it. But the thing is that I'll have that reaction just because I think, like, I'll get scared just because I think there's shellfish in something, right? And so a lot of times that's where fears are like we hear an alarm go off and we get scared that there's something going on in our house, even though the alarm is an alarm that we set. And I don't know, I'm having a hard time coming up with a better example than what I did already. But a lot of these habits, these fearful habits, are unconscious, right? So we don't even know about them. You have some that are conscious, but sometimes when you just have a like automatic fearful reaction to something, it's because it's an unconscious habit. And so the likelihood of even these ones that you're just habitual fears are, you don't need them anymore. You've outgrown them. And so if you want to, I'm thinking, if you think about who you are right now, would the person you are right now, or even the person you want to be in the future, would they have those fears? because if they wouldn't, or if you wouldn't, then it's time to get rid of them. So you can ask yourself that exact question: would the person I am today have that fear? And if the answer is no, then you're hanging on to fears out of habit. They're misaligned fears. You may feel comfortable having that fear because you've always had it, right? And so um, you can get rid of it by committing to being somebody who is courageous and courageously move through that fear, right? If the fear arises again, you can acknowledge that you don't need it and you've outgrown it and you can let it go, right? And if you do that a few times, the fear is going to go away. The other part of this has to do with identity, which I talk about so much. But if you are, like I said, if you're being someone who's courageous, you're not going to have that fear, or you're going to be able to move through that fear, right? If you're being someone who is an artist, then you're going to put your work out into the world, even though that seems scary, right? That was always scary to you, but now you're an artist, so you're going to put your art out into the world, right? So it's all about who you're being, and being courageous is one way to go about it. The other thing to think about is, what's the benefit you get out of continuing to have this fear you've outgrown? Like, why are you hanging on to it? What do you get out of it? Does it mean that you get to play small? Does it mean that you don't have to face rejection? I think about that a lot because as a writer, and I work with a lot of writers, there is that fear of, what happens if I put my work out into the world, or I don't like being on social media. It's uncomfortable to me. And yet, if you are a writer, then you're putting yourself out on social media and you're playing big and all those things, right? So who are you being? What's the identity that you have now? And do your fears align with that identity or not? Right? So that's a way to actually get rid of them, right? Is to just say, this is who I am now. And that fear doesn't serve me anymore. It's not aligned. There's another exercise that will help you figure out which fears you've outgrown. Make a list of all the things you fear, and then check off the ones that align with your current identity and who you are now. And be super honest about that. And then do the same thing with your future identity. Would who you want to be in the future, like who you're becoming, would that person have those fears? Would they be aligned with those fears? And a lot of this means moving out of your safety zone, right? So, we're so comfortable with our fears. We're so comfortable being fearful people, or having the fears we've had for a long time, that getting rid of them feels uncomfortable, right? Because, of course, your fears are all about making you safe. Your brain wants you to be afraid of things because it thinks you need to be safe, right? And so, or it wants to keep you safe, and it thinks that anything different is unsafe. And so it's going to keep you hanging on to those fears. And so you're going to have to do some more convincing your brain that you're fine. And a lot of times, all that is just doing whatever it is you're afraid of. Just being courageous, taking bold action. So I'd love to know if you feel like you've outgrown your fears, or whether you feel you have good reason to continue with those fears. So leave me a comment down below. I'd love to see your comments. If you don't know who I am, I'm Nina Amir. I'm the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I'm a certified high performance coach and an intuitive transformational catalyst or coach. I love helping people get from where they are now to where they want to go. I love helping them get from who they're being right now to who they want to be, and to get out of their own way so that they can do that. In my Inspired Creator community, I combine personal and spiritual growth. I believe we are all spiritual beings having a human experience, and so the way to create transformation is to actually focus on all of who we are, to take a holistic approach, and that requires personal and spiritual growth. So if you're interested in that, click on the link above for the Inspired Creator community. And if you have questions, you can drop a comment, or you can reach out to me at my website, ninaamir.com. Yeah, so be more courageous. Be more courageous. Really figure out whether the fears you have are aligned with who you are now, or whether you've outgrown them. Kind of like a pair of, a little kid who outgrows their shoes or their pants, right? All the time. We constantly outgrow fears. We just don't realize it. So let go of them. I hope that this video served you. I'll be looking forward to seeing your comments. And until I talk to you next time, go out there and achieve more inspired results.